There are two options to play Minecraft in VR. The official VR support in the Bedrock edition and Vivecraft mod in the Java edition. Both have their own problems, and Minecraft in VR as a whole has its own set of issues, and this is what we are going to discuss today. And in case if my heavy accent is hard to understand, I provide captions. Let's start with Bedrock's built-in VR. A huge issue you will notice immediately is absence of teleportation. This is bad. Teleportation in VR is not an artistic choice. It's an accessibility setting most players need to play VR. It took me a year to adapt to locomotion, and I still have issues with free falling and moving backwards. Minecraft has a variety of accessibility options, and they have even changed the ore textures recently to help colorblind people, which makes the absence of this accessibility feature even less justified. If your VR game or a mode doesn't have teleportation, at least half of VR player base just cannot play it. Just look at Mambo Jumbo using Ender Pearls to substitute the lack of teleportation. But he is playing on a server with an Enderman farm, not something the vast majority of players would have. The second issue is that you can't combine VR with RTX. What a waste! VR makes Minecraft immersive and RTX makes Minecraft gorgeous. Why can't we combine both? Just imagine how stunning Minecraft would look like if you could observe colored lighting in person. And in regards to performance, DLSS does a very good job at upscaling a 720p image to 1440p image. I have a Reddit post where I analyze DLSS in Minecraft, and spoiler, you won't tell the difference, especially in VR where the picture quality isn't perfect yet. And a little detail, a very small one. It requires Oculus Rift, PSVR or WMR. It does not support Steam VR or standalone Oculus Quest. Totally not an issue for most people, right? If you have a different headset or if you want to play with teleportation, there is Vivecraft, a mod for the Java edition that already includes Optifine, which means it supports shaders. But because it's a mod, it has limitations in multiplayer, like, again, lack of teleportation. It exists in single player and on special servers, but not on regular servers. That's why Mambo had to use Ender Pearls in his video taken with Vivecraft. The issue is that it is unlikely that you'll convince the server admins to install Vivecraft on a server just for you. That's why having VR in vanilla is much better than in a mod. Another issue of Vivecraft is the lack of DLSS, which means shaders combined with VR will perform very poorly. But it's not actually that bad. Most VR systems display an image onto a virtual screen with independent frame rate, which means as long as you are standing still and just looking around, the low frame rate won't be an issue. Moreover, some people get less locomotion sickness than usual with a low frame rate. Before we get to the fundamental problems, let's think of solutions to the aforementioned issues. First, give us teleportation, and not as a server game rule, but as a client option. A server shall have no say if a VR player can use teleportation or not. Again, teleportation is not a design choice, it's an accessibility setting. If accessibility options would be discarded because they give advantage, we wouldn't have directional subtitles. Yes, they are powerful. Yes, they give advantage. Yes, they are used by almost everyone in competitive and speedrun scenes, but it's extremely valuable for those who need it. What if I tell you that having a huge field of view might be an anti-accessibility setting? It gives advantage, but unbearable to use for most players because it breaks their depth perception. Second, allow us to use RTX and VR together. With DLSS, you should have a decent enough frame rate on a machine that supports RTX in the first place. And third, bring VR to the Java edition. I mean, it's not like Vivecraft is bad, it is fine. But a huge benefit of having VR in vanilla is that every server will be a VR-ready server. Just imagine walking around on a regular server and arm gesturing, causing people to ask how you even do this. Now let's talk about the fundamental issues which make Minecraft a mediocre VR game. I mean, it is great as a VR gallery, but it is far from great as a VR game. First, Minecraft has a lot of interfaces, and I mean a lot of interfaces. We interact with them in Minecraft all the time, but in VR you want to have as little UIs as possible. Well, of course, sometimes you are forced to have floating menus here and there, even Half-Life Alyx haven't found a way to avoid them completely. But the item management in Minecraft is done solely through menus, which is horrible for VR. Second, lack of interactivity. It's strange to say that the ultimate sandbox game lacks interactivity, but when it comes to VR, there isn't much that makes use of VR controllers. What's the point of swinging your VR sword freely if you can't block attacks or chomp limbs with it? Boats have paddles, but you can't actually handle them. At least a bow works somewhat like you would expect in VR, but not a crossbow. Next we have blocks. They are huge. They don't appear big on a flat screen, but a 1 meter cube does feel like a 1 meter cube in VR. This 3x3 room looks tiny on a flat screen, but is roughly the size of a typical real-life bedroom, and it feels as such in VR. And this is the size of a typical living room. This block size also causes you to move a lot. Not a problem for a desktop game, because most people don't even think about movement in desktop games. We just do it as a background task. Moving in VR, however, is slower and requires you to actively pay attention, which slows down the building process. Notice that Mambo didn't actually build anything in his VR video. He was just looking around. In fact, I haven't even found anyone actually having a long-lasting Let's Play series in VR, only first impressions and short failed Let's Play attempts. Fourth, in VR you want to physically pick things up and move them around instead of breaking them with a push of a button, magically sucking them into a backpack, and pressing another button to make them magically reappear in the world again. Like, this conventionalism works for a desktop game, but the whole point of VR is interacting with the world with your own hands. But currently, VR controllers in Minecraft act as a remapped gamepad. Fifth, session length. A typical VR play session lasts for less than an hour, while Minecraft requires you to play for at least 2 hours to make any tangible progress. The long play session of Minecraft is a problem for the flat screen too. I'm going to cover it in a separate video. But in VR, it is amplified because standing almost still for over 2 hours is very exhausting, and some VR helmets get uncomfortably hot. And VR is just slower in general. Here is a good showcase. You will do far less in 2 hours of VR in comparison to desktop. Can these issues be solved? Probably not. After all, Minecraft is a flat screen game with VR support plastered on top. To solve these issues, a game has to be designed for VR first. Are we ever going to see a game like that? Maybe. Who knows? And this is where I want to ask you, how do you picture a Minecraft-alike game tailored specifically for VR? made specifically for VR. But please keep in mind, making such a game is going to be a challenge. The guidelines for Oculus Quest recommend to have no more than 50 to 100 draw calls per frame. You know how many Minecraft produces? Over 700 per frame with the render distance of 10. Chisels and beats could be a nice option, but that mod performs horribly and its tools don't work in VR properly. But at least we can play Minecraft in VR and we can enjoy it even if as an art gallery.